Yuri Tolaki from
My what?
Kazakhstan. Yuri Tolaki, God bless you, from Kazakhstan, is a 36-year-old bodybuilder who made international news last year when he married his sex doll in front of about 100 people in November of 2020. No, it was November. But the couple have called her today.
Okay.
It's funny because like she had something to say about it. They make it sound like it was amicable. The couple called her today, and now Yuri has a smoking new love interest. Guess what he's fallen in love with?
What?
He has fallen in love with an ashtray and plans to give it an artificial vagina. The Kazakh muscle man was recently captivated by the ashtray in a club that he now hopes to equip.
Is that a picture of a sex doll?
To make it, yeah, this is.
That's weird. Let me see.
To make
that doesn't look like it.
No, I mean it's a real sex doll. It's a real. It's.
Dang.
I mean, for if you go like this, it looks like a real female, right?
Okay.
And she was anatomically correct. He posted on Instagram. First, I arranged a photo shoot with it. He said I was at a club and saw it. And it's not one of these hand things. It's an ashtray. It's like one of those ashtrays you see in bars, like you'd see by an elevator.
Okay, this is.
Let's get beyond the fact that he's a freak and psychiatrically impaired because he wants to. But then it began to attract me. He goes, I wanted to touch it again. I wanted to smell it. I loved its brutal scent, the touch of metal on my skin. It's really brutal. I also like that it has a story, that it's not new, that it's served many people over the years and continues to serve them now. He identifies as a pansexual. He can fall in love with a character, an image, a soul, or just a person. He explained about his new relationship, saying, I like it. The smell of the touch of metal on my skin, it's fantastic. I like the touch of sharp metal on my skin. It excites me so. I think I can understand what attracts me to this ashtray. I have a special passion for objects. They've always been alive for me. It's certainly not the same as a person. These are completely different feelings. This is akin to how a violinist can love his violin, which is... He's kind of going.
He just turned the corner there.
He did turn
I've been
corner.
rolling my eyes, watching the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
Loving a violin, which is 300 years old. So I kind of, at that point, I was kind of like,
okay,
that's an interesting turn.
Well, there's like, okay, there's some reality testing there. That's.
So I want you to tell me,
geez,
which inanimate object in your life that you love the most? Is there something that you take pride in that you look at? Maybe it's a photo. Maybe it's something maybe it's an award. Maybe it's a trophy. Maybe it's something that you picked up when you were on your honeymoon, or something you bought that maybe it's something you found.
But so you're stretching a little because he's in love with the ashtray, but he's also sexually attracted to it, right?
He wants to put a vagina on it.
Okay, so that's a little bit different. The question you're asking me, right?
Yeah. By the way, according to local media reports, his union with Margot officially stands, by the way, because he is officially married to her, so he must get an annulment to his sex doll because he married it under state law. In Kazakhstan, the only requirements for a wedding to take are that both consenting parties have to be male and female and over 18 years old.
She's not. What is she?
The doll was considered a female. We don't know what sex the ashtray is. A clue to their split could have come months before they tied the knot. Yuri decided to book Margot in for plastic surgery. Unbeknownst to her, by the way.
Plastic surgery? She's plastic.
She is plastic surgery. Speaking before the wedding, he said, she's changed a lot. At first, it was hard to accept, but I got used to it later on. It was a real clinic with the real doctors. When I presented her photo to the world, there was a lot of criticism. She began to develop a complex.
She did. Okay, now she's a psycho again.
So we decided to have surgery. Oh, let's forget about her. So give me that inanimate object.
Okay, but again, this is not sexual attraction to it. Because I do not have any inanimate object in my life.
No, his definition of love is like the intimate type of love, which is, there's some things like, I see my picture of Pete Rose over there, and I look at it, and I have a connection with that. Yeah. I love it. I would marry it, but it's special to me. Most the guitars behind me or have memories and have stories behind them, and I love those memories and the stories, but it's not an inanimate. I would not put a vagina on my Sting guitar, although if I could, I'd put it on there.
Well, you could
the pick guard maybe
make something else there.
I have a picture of Davey Allison. A lot of my stuff is my collectible stuff.
So we're not going to say pictures of our kids and our wives, right? I mean, like, because that's too. In some ways, that's almost
because you do love them, but you don't love the object itself.
Well, no, I have certain pictures that I love, but that's too. That's too easy.
Yeah. But I do see people, like the violinist is a really interesting term because
that's what,
depending on how much that violin or how expensive that violin is. I was watching, it's funny because I was watching Pawn Stars last night. And one of the things that they were going to buy was Michael Jordan's Space Jam shoes from the original movie, which, by the way, is the highest grossing basketball movie of all time. Did you realize that?
More than Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Space Jam, yeah, that makes sense.
The second one, not so much.
No. Sorry, LeBron.
But he put gloves on.
Yeah.
Opened the box. It was in a metal case. And you could tell that there was this freakish love affair that he had with these shoes. Not because they were so expensive.
Yeah.
And then Chumley, who's a big Nike gym shoe, just about fell off. I thought he was going to faint. He was like... And they put the price tag on these shoes at what? How much do you think they were?
$500,000?
$1 million.
Yeah.
He offered him $300,000. He's like, that's a joke. And he's like, I'm sorry. He's like,
yeah.
I love these shoes, not only from a monetary standpoint, but for what they stood for and the fact there was only one of a kind, blah, 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 blah. So it's certainly when you put a value on something, there is a value to something. It's going to be worth more to you. If you own something that's worth $300,000, you're going to love it a little bit more than something that's worth $3. Although I've seen some people, I have a chain on that I've worn since I was 3. Okay. I've lost it a couple times, and when I lose it, I kind of freak out. It's got a cross on it. I've always worn it. I only take it off for one thing. You know what that is?
Manscaping.
No. Yeah.
You don't want to get a caught in a razor.
When I'm trimming the short and curlies, I certainly take it off. No, I take it off for sex. I'm kind of like Burt Reynolds. I take my cowboy hat off. First of all, it hangs in the way.
You could create
and just out of respect.
Well, it's an eye injury for it or her. It's like an eye injury or something.
She's like, get that thing.
That's what I mean.
What's this big giant crucifix that keeps hitting me in the eye every time you come down on top of me? Stop it. No, it's just out of respect. I feel like I need to take it off. But boy, and I've lost it a couple times. And when I've lost it, I'm like, it's an inanimate object. I can always go get another one. Jesus understands. But then I'll spend like a half a day going through my brain. Sometimes when I take my shirt off, it comes off with my shirt. It freaks me out a little bit. I love it. It's important to me. I wouldn't marry it or put a vagina on it. But it's special to me. It's probably one of the most special things I have. My kids aren't allowed to touch it. I leave it alone because I don't want to lose it.
They don't touch it.
They can. They can. I mean, my daughter gets around me and she plays with it and does stuff like that. But it's just special to me, and it's something that I've had for
so you got your
52 years.
I don't think I have a thing. You're giving me a complex. Not like that. Now I can't. After that story, I don't have anything like that.
It's my violin.
What?
It's my violin.
Yeah, I don't have anything like that.
But it's a spiritual thing for me.
Yeah.
And I think when you have a spiritual connection, whether it's a sex doll or an ashtray, when you have a spiritual thing, there is no amount of money that you could.
Right.
Now everything's for sale. I'm like, for $500,000, I could buy a bunch of these. Maybe give them out to charities.
Why don't you get it sponsored for the show?
I could. I'm sponsoring my necklace, which I had for 52 years. It only comes off for sex, and I'm more than happy to put a price tag on it. No.
I don't have a thing. I don't have a thing at that level. I was trying to go through a few things in my mind.
Do you have any personal things that
I've got momentums, things like, one of my grandfather's watches that and my dad's, two watches that I don't ever wear. Right. I have them. I have a weird, this is another one. I have a safe deposit box key from my grandfather. That he, and there's nothing in the safe deposit box, but he wanted me to have the key.
That's interesting.
Yeah. There's nothing now. We opened it up, but I still have the key. But the key means the other thing we have.
Why was the key given? Do you know? Is this a memento?
He gave the key to me, and he gave a key to my mom. Before he passed, he had a few things in there, but now the key has a huge, sort of intimate relationship. The other thing, which is really kind of weird, I was thinking about it. This is why the show's so great. I have the key to my dad's first sailboat, the key to the engine of my dad's first sailboat.
That's cool.
My dad was an incredible sailor. And so, these are the things that where I was going before this. This is a little shallow. I'll just be shallow.
Yeah.
I love my Corvette.
Yeah.
I treat it like a baby.
You never drive it, but yeah.
There is a I've had a lot of cars. I've never really had sports cars, and the reason is I've always my whole life I've wanted that car.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't call it a.
When was the last time you drove it?
2 weeks ago when it was not raining. Gonna drive it today.
Oh, good.
But I don't really have. I was thinking about it. I don't have. I guess I'm shallow. I don't have a thing.
No, not necessarily.
I don't have a thing.
I mean, those keys are
The keys.
kind of go along the same.
I mean, I have.
You should put those on a chain and put them around your neck.
I have a safe at home. I have just a like fire safe that we keep all and I have actually a few things in there. I have one of my grandmother's. Well, my wife's wearing it. My grandmother's wedding ring. I have a immigration ticket when my grandmother came here from Hungary. So I have these I have all these things in a box, and I'm the guy. I told you this. Jules is all about purging, getting rid of. No, I don't. Not eating disorder, purging, getting rid of. We don't need to keep. I know. I be careful. We need to get rid of all this stuff.
Yeah,
and they're like old pictures, and we did this with the kids. Both my kids are in college. We had their stuff in their rooms, and Jules decided, we gathered all their stuff. We put them in 3 boxes. They were both home at different times of summer. Said, here's all your stuff. You go through this stuff, and you decide which of this stuff you're keeping. Everything else we're gone.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's your stuff. You can keep whatever you want. And the kids were like me. I can't throw this trophy out from the thing. And I've said this, and this goes against your thing. Those are the kinds of things you put in the attic. You put them in the attic so that when your kid is 40 and comes back and visits you with their kid, they go into the attic. Look at this. Oh, Dad, that was weird. Yeah. There is a thing. That's for me, the intimate connection is through nostalgia.
Yep.
And I have these desires to have these sort of things sitting in my attic that my grandkids, great grandkids, and then when I'm dead, will get passed on.
Yeah. I remember when my dad died, it was 4 or 5 years ago, and my mother had died a couple of years before him. My sister was the one who had to go through the house, and my mom was somewhat of a hoarder. Certainly late in her life, she never got rid of anything. And so my sister did an incredible job, and I probably wasn't incredibly compassionate or patient with the way she moved through the house, and I felt horrible about that. But she had to go through all these boxes, all these boxes of stuff, and she was a lot like my mother in that she didn't know what to throw away. And she thought, okay, if my mom had held on to this stuff for 40 years, then who am I to get rid of it? And so when she gave me the box of my stuff, I couldn't believe some of the things my mom had saved of mine, and it made me feel she saved my first report card. So I can't get rid of it. So I'm like, well, if she saved it, then who am I to get rid of it? Yeah.
Don't get it.
No,
is
I
it
don't.
In your attic?
No, it's I don't put things in the attic, and I don't put things in storage, because if it goes in storage or goes in the attic, I'm not going to look at it.
Okay.
I don't. I will not do it, so I'm going to leave it out somewhere. If it's something you're going to look at once a year, once every 5 years, whatever, that's fine. Clothing I get rid of after a year if I don't wear it. So coming up here in December, you're going to start seeing me wear some really weird clothes from the 70s and 80s, because if I don't wear it, then it's got to go to Goodwill. So I wear it so I can keep it.
That's weird.
But no, so I was kind of like, that's pretty cool that she would keep that. And so who am I to get rid of these things?
Yeah.
And hold on. And it's fun to look through once in a while. But I had a friend of mine who was he didn't do storage wars, but he wanted to do storage wars. He started going to these auctions and buying these storage units, and after you don't pay your storage thing, they just sell them off. And he was going to turn it into a big business, and it was his next big thing. And he couldn't do it. He said, because I'd get home and I couldn't go through other people's personal things.
Creepy. It's creepy.
He said, because, and it wasn't even a creepy thing for me, but he was
it's like an invasion
to see all these things that was so important for someone to hold on to for 80 years, and now I'm chucking it like it's nothing. And he goes, I couldn't get rid of, and of course they're looking for things of value, right? If it was a report card or a medallion from World War I would save those things and I would sell those things off. But he goes, I felt horrible about going through other people's stuff, even though I had bought it.
Yeah, I know.
Because he didn't know the story behind it. And he goes, I got the point where.
See how sensitive you are?
Yeah, well, he goes, I get the point where I'd be going through boxes of papers looking for a $100 bill or a deed to something that was worth money that I could salvage and make money off these things. And just to chuck these things that were part of someone's life, it was just like I just couldn't do it. He's like,
I got a camera bag from my stepfather.
Yeah.
It's an old beat up camera bag. There's no camera in it.
Yeah.
And we were going through.
I have a camera you can put it in
we were
there.
going through Max's stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, do you need the camera bag? No. Don't need the camera bag because I don't have a camera. So I was, I moved it over to the Goodwill thing. We'll get rid of it. I'm like, I can't get rid of this. It's my stepdad's camera bag.
Yeah.
There's just no logical reason other than it was his. And you said, I have cigar wrappers, not cigars. I've got the freaking plastic wrappers that my grandfather had made when I was born for his first grandson.
Oh.
But there's like 100 of them.
Yeah, you probably cut that down a little bit.
Well, that's what I mean.
I thought you were going to say the cigar rings.
We're going here because this is our show, and my grandfather was a little bit of a hoarder, a little bit Depression era guy. I have 400 collar stays for sure because he collected them, and he'd always call me up. Do you need more collar stays? Like.
Explain what a collar stay is.
Collar stay is a little plastic thing. They're actually really useful. Yeah. Collar stay is a little plastic thing that you put in a dress shirt, and your dress shirt, guys, if you don't know this, and you buy a dress shirt, usually it's got a little hole in the collar, and you put the collar stay in, and then your collar stays down. Stays nice. I have 400 of those things. Yeah, I also have, he would also, this is my graph. Do you need any rubber bands?
You've told me about this.
No, Papa, I don't need any rubber bands. Now, the one thing he did give me, and then I'll just stop, is I have all of his cufflinks. My grandfather was a cufflink guy, right? Because he used to wear French coat.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I do wear them, some of them. And just to say, to sort of round this whole thing out, none of them were penises.
That would be kind of cool to build a little. You should do a little shadow box with your grandpa's cufflinks.
Shadow box. That's a good. I don't know how to build that.
No, you go to Hobby Lobby and get a shadow box, and you can.
You just put it in there.
Attach them in there, and
Hobby Lobby have already made shadow boxes.
Oh yeah, you can do and hang them up on the thing. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh, that'd be really cool
for the ones you don't wear, obviously.
Or
you can do it, and they have little doors. You take it off, and put it back.
Doors on the shadow box.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Do you have shadow boxes here?
I've got a shadow box around somewhere.
Okay, and then the last thing I want to ask you, talking about the ashtray, I think about that slot machine that you have out there all the time. Do you feel feelings now that you're?
No, I traded that in on a pool table.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had a pool table that was over here. It was a 1927 Brunswick pool table. It was beautiful. It was just too big. We had kids. I was like, okay. And I go.
No, but do you feel intimately connected to the?
I do when I hear the bells go off. Yeah.
Dude, you could do if he put it.
We need to get that thing back in here.
If he put what he did on the ashtray, there's all kinds of things you could.
You may get stuck inside that slot machine. I think the slot's a little too small for me.